Alright, so we're here at the Hook Grip Center, and we're going to run through a little bit about our tape and why we think it's better than other tape out there. And basically it comes down to two things. It comes down to cost, and it comes down to performance. So you obviously want to get something for the best cost, but if something's only minorly cheaper, then you might not actually want to use it. So that's why we're going to run through this really quickly. So just to make things equal, what we're doing here is we're breaking things down to basically how much something costs per foot. Because for most applications, you're using maybe a foot, maybe a little bit more per workout, and that's the easiest way to judge how much money you're actually spending over the long haul. So we've got some common options for tapes. We also know there's a couple other options that we'll talk about that we don't actually have samples of. So to start with, this is pretty much the standard in tape, in sports in general. It's Mueller athletic tape. There's very similar tape known as Johnson & Johnson sport tape, I believe. It's your standard 1.5 inch cloth tape, and it actually does a pretty good job. This is not by any means bad tape. So let's say you were to take off maybe, this is probably going to be about 8 inches worth of tape, and you were to wrap this on your thumb, like so. It'll do a pretty good job. There's nothing really wrong with this tape. A lot of people get good results. If I put this on the bar here, you know, I can get a pretty good hook grip, and it's not too much of a problem. However, there are some problems with this tape. First of all, it's 1.5 inch, which means it's a little bit narrower than our tape, which is 2 inches. Most tapes in the athletic world, other than this sort of cloth tape, are usually 2 inches. And the other problem with this is there's some flexibility issues. Now, obviously, I could have wrapped it a little bit differently, maybe to try and compensate for the bend in my thumb, but I can't really bend my thumb here. I can't get as good of a grip as I want to get on that bar. Now, if I unwrapped it and maybe wrapped it a little bit differently, or maybe if I tore this down the middle, or if I did extra work, you know, it's possible that I could compensate for the flexibility. But bottom line is that's probably the biggest weakness of this tape, in my mind, is the flexibility. Also, it's a little bit slick on the outside. It's really not as grippy as you would really want out of tape, especially for tape when you're trying to hold on to a barbell. Here's the good news about this tape, though. So if you buy this on Amazon, it comes out to about 9.3 cents per foot. You can actually get it even cheaper if you're willing to buy maybe 30-something rolls. So if you're willing to get 30-something rolls, you can get this down to, I mean, even less, like 5 cents a foot, which is really good. The bad news is that because it's 1.5 inches and ours is 2 inches, you're going to need to use up more tape. So while this is probably the cheapest and standard option, we're going to show you why we think our tape is actually better and probably even more cost effective in a number of ways. So moving on, this is the hook grip tape. Our rolls are 7.5 yards. That's $3. That's $3 per roll, which works out to about 13.3 cents per foot. So, you know, maybe about a 50% premium over the Mueller. If you get the Mueller in super bulk, it's more than a 50% premium. But our tape is, first of all, it's wider. But second of all, we'll show you why we think it's much higher performance, much better for weightlifting. So if you take about 6 inches of our tape off, something along those lines, what you'll see is that this tape stretches a lot to begin with, which makes it really easy to not use a whole lot and to apply it onto your thumb. But once you put it on like this, that tape is on. It's not coming off. It can't slide off. I can pull on this all I want. It's not going to come off. It's not even budging on my thumb. It's moving the skin of my thumb, but it's not budging on my thumb. So what makes this tape special is that it's self-stick tape, which means it's stuck to itself. But what also is nice about it is that you can't move it. And what happens with that is when you put it onto the bar, you've got a lot of flexibility. I can bend my thumb. I can get as much as I want into the bar as I possibly can. I don't have any sort of lack of motion because of the tape. And what's nice too is that it won't slide off. You're pulling on this tape all session long, and this thing will not move off your thumb at all. You'll never be tugging on it. You'll never be rewrapping it. Of course, if you pull on the tape hard enough here, it will come off, but you'll never be rewrapping it unless you mess up where you're pulling on it. As long as you're pulling on it in this direction, it's not coming off. So just to run through a couple of the other options really quickly. Basically, any other self-stick tape that you find on the market compared to ours is going to be significantly more expensive or lower performance, one of the two. In this case, this is some pretty standard self-stick tape you can buy on Amazon. There's not a whole lot of difference between it and our tape, except for the fact there's no adhesive in here. This is going to come off your thumb. You go put it on, it'll feel good. You'll use it for a few lifts, it'll start sliding off, you'll end up pulling it back on every couple minutes, and it's just going to be lower performance. It's roughly the exact same price as ours. You got 5 yards for about $2 a roll. It's about 13.3 cents a foot, which is your approximate per workout cost. This is some other tape from Amazon. This is surgical tape. This tape is actually good in some ways. It's got adhesive on the inside. It also is perforated, so you can rip it easily at certain marks, which is nice. The downside to it is it's really slick on the outside, and it's not flexible. If I pull on this tape, there's no give to it whatsoever. Whereas with our tape, you pull on it, it's flexible. So there's other options as well. We don't have all of the sample tapes here, but I just ran some numbers. And the goat tape, which a lot of people like, is 10 yards at $6 a roll, which works out to about 20 cents a foot. And it's only 1.5 inches wide. So if you compare 13.3 cents to 20 cents a foot, it's basically the goat tape for a similar amount of coverage is about twice as expensive as hook grip tape. And the Johnson & Johnson tape is pretty similar to the Mueller tape in terms of costs and performance. And then, Mueller actually makes a self-stick option as well. We don't have any here. I believe it is sold on the Rogue website, probably on Amazon as well. The difference with the Mueller tape is that it costs about 40 cents per foot. So you're looking at roughly 3 times the cost. It is a little bit wider than ours, but you're still looking at least 2 times the cost of our tape. And just to remember, the Mueller self-stick tape does not have adhesive on the inside. As far as I know, our tape is the only tape out there that has self-stick capabilities plus adhesive on the inside. So basically that's why we think our tape is the best, and hope you guys give it a shot. Thanks.